I'm Jake Bruton with Aarow Building, and today we are on site with Andersen at one of my firm's renovations, and we are going to talk about Easy Connect and the reason we're using it. And if it's not apparent, that is a really big opening, and we probably couldn't set that unit without a crane or a large piece of equipment. And while this ground's covered with snow, there's grass here, and we didn't want to destroy these people's yard. That unit's too big for us to just pick up and set in place, and because it's 4 of the A-series windows, we can use the Easy Connect to set them one at a time and then clip them together. And so we're going to walk through that today. Let's get started. Okay, so I want to talk about all of the rough opening prep that's taking place before we start the Easy Connect system. And we're looking at our exterior control layers. You can see our zip system in place. We have our air and water management here. You can see that our team here is installing zip stretch tape in the sill. While this is a really wide opening, we are using one piece of the stretch tape all the way across the sill. The reason for this is we're using one piece from about 6-8 inches up the side of the jamb all the way across without any seams. This gives us one layer of protection without any of those connection points that could be a potential leak. You'll see in a minute when we finish our install that we're not using the barrier method that Andersen allows for. We're actually just sealing the jambs and head of the unit, and then we're moving our air control layer on these units to the inside, and we're leaving the bottom flange of these windows open. So we're allowing these to, if they ever have any sort of water infiltration, to drain out and onto the face of our zip. We're not worried about if any water gets out here. So by using one piece of tape here, this is a monolithic control layer here where we have that ability to protect our system here, to protect our wall assembly. So after this piece of tape is fully installed, we're gonna move on to the jambs here. These jambs will just be treated with a regular piece of the zip seam tape. It's a little more cost effective to use that tape in this instance. You'll see we have a couple pieces of padding on the jambs. The reason for that padding is this is our first time using the Easy Connect, and we were a little concerned about what size our rough opening was gonna be. We're a little worried, and so what we did was we just said, hey framers, make it 2 inches bigger than what we think it needs to be, just in case, you know, fingers crossed. Now that we've seen the system, we've installed a unit, we're like, that was silly. We knew what the math was, why did we do that? We wouldn't do that next time, but it was a measure to just make sure we didn't have to reframe anything once it got here. And now we know, so it wouldn't happen next time, but no harm, no foul, you know, we were able to accommodate. So now that we have our sill in place, we're gonna move on to our jamb sides. Those jambs are seam tape. We'll use the same stretch tape to make this turn around the corners at our top. That head though will only be like a 6-8 inch piece. Like I said, this is not a super cost-effective tape. We don't want to do all the way across the head in one piece because it's not as necessary. That is not going to be as challenged as our sill potentially. So we'll just bridge that corner. There's no origami there because we have the stretch tape. It's just one piece. And then the head will be the same thing. Then we'll be ready to move on to window install. So now that the rough opening's completely prepped, we have window or unit number 1 in place. You can see that there are no fasteners in the flange. It's because Andersen has shipped it with the coastal clips, or in this case, we're using them as install clips. So the unit is held in place, and we would be ready to start placing the rest of these units in this opening. But it's important to note that the secret sauce of this entire unit is the Easy Connect structural component here on the edge that is factory installed on the unit. So this is a fiberglass structural mole. It is an interlocking piece that goes on the side. So Easy Connects the whole system, but I think of it as this actual fiberglass piece on the side. It has 2 interlocking pieces that actually are mated on the other window so that when we slide the next window in, everything will latch positively. They catch, they won't pull apart. Think of it as they're grabbing each other so that you don't actually have to physically screw the 2 together when you're just setting them in here. This will hold it together, and then we just get to keep placing, and then we'll get everything set in place. We'll make all of our final adjustments, and then we'll start fastening on the outside. So we're ready for our next window. Let's keep plugging away. Okay, so 10 minutes later, we have all 4 windows in. And for our process, we have units on 3 sides of this room. So we've set up a laser. We have a line for our sill height so that it is transferred all the way around the room. What we're doing is we have them temporary fastened with the clips, and we're going to level the sill all the way around. We're going to then go to the outside and we're going to square the entire unit. We're going to plumb it, check and make sure that everything is operating properly, and then we'll fasten everything in the flange on the outside and make sure that our operation is perfect. Then we'll move on to air and water management and our final connection pieces on the outside with the mulling and everything. So let's do that now. Okay, now that all of the windows are connected and we're about to start our sealant process, the next step are these end seal plugs. This is a connection piece that actually locks the two units in place, but it provides a port on the end, and this port is for us to stick our sealant in the end and fill that full. So it actually provides sealant to seal them from an air and water perspective, but it's actually a mechanical connection as well. It goes in the top one direction, and then you flip it over and it goes in the bottom the other direction. So you have that same piece both directions. You're not getting this thing back out once you put it in, so you have to make sure that you are ready to install this piece prior to installing this piece. But once you have this in, now we're ready to start applying our beads of sealant to the actual Easy Connect frame pieces. We're going to do that now. Okay, so after those beads of sealant, we have the mullion covers in between the windows. In this installation, we opted for Andersen's trim kit. So we have a four-sided trim that goes around the entire window. That actually has nothing to do with the Easy Connect system, but we do still have a head flashing. And if you'll note now, the head flashing went on, it gets set in a bead of sealant, it gets another piece of tape. It's important to note that everything returns all the way back to our WRB. We want any water that gets behind our cladding to find its way out and past the window, including the head flashing. We also took those two pieces of tape that you see in the seams of the zip, we peeled those up, we put our head flashing tape on, and then we laid those back down. It's a shingle effect all the way down the building whenever possible. We have access to that, we may as well do it. Is it a huge risk? Maybe, maybe not. We're gonna do it anyway. So now we have the entire installation in place. Everything is ready for us to leave it for the next steps in the building process beyond our rough framing and our window installation. And now we're ready to move around the side of the building and keep cranking and installing these windows from Andersen. I think this is a system that we will explore in the future. We'll continue to use this. The work smarter, not harder mentality. Our industry is moving in a place where we have to take better care of our team members. We have to take better care of ourselves. And the idea that we can break a window like this into smaller pieces, into more manageable chunks, and be able to install it in a way that we know is going to be managed for water and air and confident in our installation, that is a big deal for us. And we're really excited about a system like this that helps us plan for aging carpenters such as myself and for taking better care of our team members while still delivering a superior product. So check out Easy Connect, and thanks for joining us on site today with Andersen.